Pumpkin pie is one that typically contains gluten, depending what type of flour you're using. Today, Jeremy is getting creative with some pumpkin cookies. So something, if you happen to have leftovers, you can freeze them and enjoy them for the rest of the season. Or if your guests leave the table too full from all the other delicious recipes you've made, you can always give them a little package of cookies to take home as well.
And so what we're doing here is, it's actually, the pumpkin is, an addition to it, but it's the almond. The almond is going to be the star here. And what we're going to do is use almond flour. Now, almond flour can be substituted in some baking recipes, but because there's no gluten, you don't create those building blocks and those proteins that give you that, fluffiness in bread and cakes. So it's good in some recipes, but you have to see if it needs a lot of leavening, it won't really work. We're making some really nice almond cookies, and they work fantastic. So this is a great recipe. And now you can use almonds from scratch. You can buy almond flour already ground. It is a little bit more expensive. It's not the cheapest thing, but it's simple to make your own. And this is the same concept. I mean, if you want to use like a hazelnut flour or something like that, you would do the exact same thing. So we've put almonds in, about 2 cups of almonds in a food processor. We're going to blend it up.
I knew it was coming, but I still jumped.
And I'm going to go a little bit more, and make sure that you don't leave it on. If you continue to grind it, you're going to actually end up with almond butter, which is delicious, but not what we need. So I'll go a little further, maybe 30 more seconds.
See it's very moist because of the natural fat that's in almonds. So you wouldn't want to do this and then try to replace flour with this because of the extra moisture. Sorry, I was yelling. Did anyone hear that? Okay.
So pretty much that is what we're looking for. So it's a little coarse, but pretty much like flour. It's all ground, ready to use. So now we have our ground almond flour. We're going to add the rest of our dry ingredients. So we have a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. And that's pretty much it for that. And now for our wet ingredients. Let's do a spoon. All right. So we have maple syrup. Delicious.
Sweetener of choice at the ELLICSR kitchen because it's rich in many minerals and it's lower on the glycemic index than a lot of other sweeteners.
We have a couple tablespoons of grapeseed oil, which is a neutral oil. Has no flavor, so it's not really going to compete with anything. You can use olive oil in this, which actually goes well with almonds. So if you did want to use it, it'll work. And we're going to add a little bit of pure vanilla. Again, just for flavor.
And what's this?
That's pumpkin butter, but I'm not there right yet.
Oh.
And what we're going to add is, so you can add an egg yolk, 1 egg yolk, or you can use what's called a flax egg. This is a great egg substitute, and this is used when egg is needed as a binder. If an egg is needed for leavening, this won't work. But the egg yolk here is more of just the wet ingredient. It's going to give you a little bit of richness and it's binding. So you can use a flax egg. So flax egg is a tablespoon of ground flaxseed and 3 tablespoons of water. And you just mix it together. Great way to get some extra fiber in. But as it sits, and I did this now, so you're not going to see it, but as it sits, it'll actually thicken on you and give you a texture and consistency very, very similar to an egg.
And flax seeds, they're one of the few kind of vegetarian foods that contain omega-3 fatty acids in quite a large amount. So I know a lot of people add them to smoothies, but with flax in particular, you want to make sure that you grind it up. If you're just adding flax seeds whole to a recipe, you're going to get the benefits of the fiber, but you're not going to access those omega-3 fatty acids that are inside. So again, if you're going to buy a big amount of ground flaxseed, it'll tend to spoil over time or go rancid just because of the fats that are in the product. So you can keep it in the fridge, or else something we like to do is keep a coffee grinder that you just use for spices, and you can grind your whole flax seeds as needed, and that way you're going to keep those oils fresh.
Okay, so we have our wet ingredients. We're going to slowly mix in all of it at once. We have places to be and we want to try the food. All right, and that's it. Very, very simple. Just combine them. It's going to give you a consistency very similar to this. It's not going to form like a ball of dough. It's going to be a pretty wet combination. That's it. That's what we're looking for. So we can spoon that on, and you can use a spoon or...
And the great thing about this dessert is it actually contains some protein from the almonds, so it'll keep you satisfied for longer. But also, there's some interesting research looking at nuts as part of a healthy diet. There is a large long-term study called the Nurses' Health Study, and researchers looked at some data from that. And they found that when people replaced some of the saturated fat from foods like red meat and high-fat dairy products with healthy fats in the form of nuts, they actually lowered the risk of heart disease by almost half. So some incredible research coming out about nuts. Also some other studies looking at their impact on helping with glycemic control, so keeping your blood sugar more steady in people with diabetes. And so they think it's the combination of the protein and the fat and really keeping your blood sugar more stable when you're eating it together with the carbohydrates. So again, that whole glycemic index is lowered when you go for nuts as a snack.
Now you may have asked, where's the pumpkin in this? So we're going to add the pumpkin now. I didn't forget about the pumpkin. And what I'm using is something that we made in a past recipe. It's a pumpkin butter, which is essentially pumpkin puree, which we've cooked down with some spices, and it's just until the point where it's nice and thick, almost like this. Delicious. I mean, this can be used in your pumpkin pie, and we're going to use it in this. You can use jam if you don't have this. You can even do like an apple butter, and it's very, very simple. And we're going to cause just a little indent, and that's it. Nothing pretty. And it looks kind of clumpy now, but as it bakes, it'll flatten a little bit, and it'll give you a much bigger cookie. I'll show you in a second. So we're going to create this little indent. Just kind of push that pumpkin butter on the top.
Pumpkin butter is lemon in it, right?
Pumpkin butter?
Do you have lemon in it?
A little bit of lemon. We actually use a little bit of apple cider vinegar in it. Yeah, but you can use, whatever you like for that. We just added a little bit of acidity. If the acid is too much, then you can use the lemon zest, like Christy said, to give it a little bit of that lemon flavor.
But then add some water. Do you need a certain amount of
No, not
vinegar
really.
for the liquid?
Not really.
Just for the flavor?
Yeah. And so that's going to go into the oven, 350 for about 15-20 minutes. It does not take long at all. And keep an eye on it because they get nice and caramelized. And there we go. I was busy this morning. Cookies for you guys. So that's it. Very, very simple. And a nice gluten-free take on a dessert. That's it. That's 5.
That's Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Who's excited to try some of the recipes?